This is the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. This episode is sponsored by Funding Loop. Funding Loop automates the process for nurseries of collecting funding forms from parents and typing that information into council portals. To find out more about Funding Loop, visit their website. You'll find the link in this episode description. A big hello to the Voice of Early Childhood community. I'm the founder, Angelica Salinska, and I have a very special announcement for you all. Our 2026 conference page is all launched and ready for you. We have launched the tickets early to give everyone plenty of time to plan and book. So our conference is on the 7th of March 2026 in Nottingham. We listened to your feedback and we have the speakers back again that you are blown away by and wanted to hear more from. We have Matt Baller returning and sharing his insightful work and practice around promoting children's mental health. And of course, Olivia Corbin-Phillip coming back again, this time bringing books to life. We also have our long-awaited guest, Cheryl Warren, joining us to discuss her area of expertise on neurodiversity. We will be sharing the remaining speakers soon, so keep an eye out on the conference page. You can find the link in this episode description. Tickets are already selling, so don't miss out and grab yours. I look forward to welcoming you all. Hello, everyone. Hello to all our listeners and viewers. Welcome to another episode of the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. My name is Angelica Salinska. I'm the host. And in this episode, we're joined by an education consultant whose work focuses on building positive school culture through mindfulness-based social and emotional learning. Her recent article, titled "It Starts With Us, Looking Inwards as Educational Leaders," reminds us that before we can care for others, we must first understand and care for ourselves. But what does this actually mean? Because we hear it a lot, which is why we'll be exploring what it means to lead reflectively, how well-being and self-awareness shapes leadership, and the ripple effect that this can have on whole school or whole setting communities. So whether you're in leadership role or simply navigating that, the daily demands of working with children, we aim for this conversation to prompt your own reflections and maybe even some new practices for you. So without further ado, welcome Joanne Lo to the Voice of Early Childhood podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. So we are going to get straight into it, into the topic, and then we'll hear a little more about your journey. And I'm thinking throughout the whole thing anyway, because it will link in so well. So yeah, we're going to be discussing leadership from the perspective of looking within, looking inwards. So Joanne, your article begins with a powerful call for leaders to look inward. So why do you think this internal work is often overlooked in educational leadership in particular?
Leaders have an immense amount of invisible pressure that literally just sits on their shoulders on a day-to-day basis because they're the face of the school. The teachers are looking at them for direction. The children then look at the teachers, therefore looking at the senior leader for direction, and parents from the other side as well. And so when we've had a bad day, it often reflects on our facial cues, our nonverbal communication. And sometimes that can create misunderstandings, right? Mm-hmm. Just imagine, if, for example, it's happened to all of us really, you come into school, the head teacher or the senior leader forget to smile because they just had a rough morning, which is everybody's thing, mm-hmm. right? But then they miss that actual point of contact where parents are saying good morning or looking at you to say, how was your day? If we don't reflect back as like a mirror, then they feel, oh no, what's wrong with her or him? Did I do something wrong? And then they start to reflect inward. It goes into a negative downward spiral, and it can catastrophize if we're not careful. And that's how rumors spread. It's through that angle. So just to protect yourself, we are human, okay? And we have to normalize every emotion. We can have a bad day, and that is okay. We can have a bad moment, but that is just a moment. The next moment does not determine the moment prior.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. Mm-hmm. To not get bogged down in that negativity if something happens.
Don't chunk it to, I've had a bad day. You just say, oh, this happened. I've had a bad moment. Notice it, pause, reflect on it. Notice how it feels on your body. Are you tensed around the eyebrows? Your mouth is kind of clenched in, or your posture is kind of slouched forward. When you connect with your body, it often gives you a signal like, oh, this is how I'm feeling, especially when you feel rushed. So I feel like it's completely necessary to support senior leaders because statistics in the Teachers Wellbeing Index, just 2024, the stats are high. And unfortunately, we are all experiencing burnout faster and quicker because of the extra demands and pressures that we have on our shoulders. So I think it's a topic that we need to take care of our leaders. Normally, leaders take care of everybody else, but we cannot
exactly.
empty vessel. We cannot keep going, filling a cup, all those metaphors that basically say when you're empty, you cannot serve. And we're here to serve the community, creating that peaceful environment for children to feel safe. But if we don't feel like we belong, right? It's very hard for other people to match that energy. So that's the reason why I think it's crucial for us to really pause and think about how we can check in with ourselves. What is it? We normally skip this process because as educators, we're very nurturing and we care for other people. This goes without saying. That's why we're in the field, right? We have a big heart, we care, and we're nurturing other people. But we must nurture ourselves. And that really means not just like the occasional gym or the running or the cycling, but deep reflection, because patterns happen all the time. And when you notice the patterns, then you can actually understand how to find solutions. One of the things I do is I just take my time in the morning. I know I have a busy schedule, but I have at least 30 minutes dedicated to mindful walking, mindful eating, and reflective prompts for me. I have colorful Post-its if I need extra support when I brush my teeth. And it's just a little reminder to say, you can do hard things. You've got this. And if I don't know something, I always put a yet sign right next to it. I have not learned it yet, but I will. Because once you start to feed your mind with positive words for yourself, your mind will take it all in. And then your heart will then follow. And that kind of sets a goal for the rest of the day. It sets the tone.
Yeah, and I've got so many reflections already from everything that you've said. I guess firstly, I want to touch on the fact that you often work with schools, and I guess that does involve early years within the schools as well. And I just want to talk about early years settings themselves. For instance, nurseries, preschool provisions, childminders, nannies, all sorts of early years settings. And when you talked about leaders often being the ones that look after everyone else, often in early year settings, if it's a setting that is maybe just one nursery, for instance, or a childminder, there's no one else to go to. There's not, a school with some other staff there, some other senior leaders perhaps, or a chain or an academy. So often the early year settings very much, they get overlooked, and with that support that's required, but they just don't have that support around them. And therefore the leaders are really struggling there. And then another added thing is when you talk about nurture, and nurturing, they're particularly nurturing in early years because of the younger children that they work with, and there's that care element too, and that really takes it out of you. You're giving your whole self to those children. So it's really interesting to consider all of the different kind of roles and avenues and different areas in education. But in every role, there is that, the pressures, like you say, the invisible pressures on the leader, whichever kind of area of leadership they're in, I guess.
So when I mean by leader, it's whoever's in charge in that set. So a leader could be a teacher, a leader could be an assistant, it could be the administrative staff. It doesn't have to be the one that's always overlooking it. Because really, if you think about it, whoever you feel gives you permission to just be, that is who I'm talking about. So you can be your own leader as well.
Yeah.
So it's whoever's in any setting, they need to check in with themselves because they're so nurseries, early years, schools, just a very, very busy world for children. And there's so many things that need to be done. And oftentimes when I work with teachers and senior leaders, they say they don't have time. They don't have time to go to the restroom even, to take a walk, to drink water, basic stuff. And so when we say we don't have time, then we won't have time. But if we organize ourselves to maybe start everything 5 minutes earlier or even 7 minutes earlier, that would make all the difference. Just go out for that fresh air. Take a deep breath, and give yourself positive reminders that you can do hard things. Because normally we keep everything on our shoulders and then the next day it follows us back to work. And the danger with that is that if, as I said before, it's a pattern, if it's a reoccurring pattern, you have to understand what causes it. Because over time, that in itself can lead to stress. We deal with stress every day, little stress-ors, stress-ees. But then over time, they become one big stressor. So that big stressor over time then becomes burnout.
Yes.
People don't realize that actually it's patterns. It's all your body telling you, hey, talk to me, help me a little bit, right? And so one of the messages I always work with teachers, children, everybody, parents, notice how you feel in that moment. It's okay to feel frustrated, but notice how it feels in your body. Because when you understand, I'm a little bit more slouched today, or I'm talking really quickly because there's no time, or I'm not making eye contact, all of these things subliminally can create misunderstandings with whomever you're talking about.
Of course, yeah.
Whether or not it's a colleague, a parent, just anybody. And we're all human. So I think the first step is really checking in with yourself. Take a moment to just pause and reflect. Give yourself 7 minutes head start so that you can calm your own self and your nerves. And notice how you feel in different situations without judging it. Just be like, it happened. And then move on. Because remember, a moment is just a moment. From when we began our podcast, the moment's passed. So why do we hold on to so many things? And why do we hold on to it the next day, and then it becomes 2 months, right? And so give yourself permission to just feel all your emotions and just let it go.
And I've got a question for you, when you say about letting go of the emotion and just kind of almost like seeing it, letting it pass, I guess. How about the need for like that inwards reflection? So I guess we can get too reflective perhaps, and sometimes it's important to just see it and let go of it, like you're saying, let the moment pass.
Exactly. So at the end, the beginning of the day, I always set the tone for the week. Okay. So starting in Monday morning, for example, have your goals, right? Loose goals. For example, personal goals. Number 1, I need to check in with this teacher. I need to check in with that teacher just to make sure I have a check-in with them for 2 minutes. At the end of the day, reflect back on those goals that you've had. How did it go? How did that teacher feel when I did the 2-minute check-in? And then, so that's the reflective point. You could do the same thing with yourself. For example, I noticed I'm a little bit more tired this morning, or I didn't go for my usual run, or the rain came and I got my hair wet. And now I have to start my day with wet hair. Write those things down. And then at the end of the day, reflect on it. How was it? Was it your emotion? But that shouldn't determine your behavior.
Yes.
Because when you actually notice, I was a little bit frustrated that moment. Okay, but it was just that one instant. Next time I can prepare better. Maybe bring an umbrella or pack a few more things in my bag, right? So that if you actually break everything down, those little stressors those little stressees don't become a big stressor. Don't chunk it as one big problem.
I see.
You have to break it down, because that is the reflective point. You have to really understand. And then over time, you will see a pattern. You will see a pattern. Oh, am I more negative right now? Am I feeling more stressed? Is everything, I haven't done this. Oh, everything's bad. Or everything's not that bad, actually. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I love what I do, and I go to work to connect with the parents and children. And so when you start to do your reflective pattern practices, you can kind of rewire your brain to think with I like to call it cultivation. Cultivate self-compassion. Because when you cultivate self-compassion, then everything is not a big deal. It's a problem that you can deal with in the second, in the moment, but it doesn't have to determine your next moment or your next day.
Yeah.
And then when you do that reflective practice, an ongoing thing, it's not just a one-off, then other people start to notice the shift. And in a community, everyone really feels the energy. They see the nonverbal cues, the nonverbal communication, the body language, frowning, the face. They see those more than they hear the words coming out of the
Yes, for
mouth, right?
sure.
And so when you have that inward reflection, you will be smiling from inside out. Over time, it just comes out, and then you'll have a sunny disposition. And then, because I know schools always want to have a sunny disposition, but how can you have that when you're not checking, you haven't checked in with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. This reminds me of I saw a LinkedIn post by someone earlier that I don't even know who they were, to be honest, just came across them. And they mentioned the fact that like happiness is an emotion. You can't always necessarily, help feeling happy or unhappy sometimes. But actually positivity is a choice and you can choose to kind of adopt that. I thought that's really interesting because it's a little bit like what you're saying in terms of, you can almost like you said, rewire your brain to look at things differently. So that
Exactly.
kind of made me think of this.
So what the practice I do when I'm really having a hard time, when I used to be a head teacher over 10 years ago, and also sometimes as a parent, honestly, to be honest, yes, we all have hard moments and that is okay. But I always use language that serve me. For example, I say, oh, I wonder why I feel this way. I'm not judging myself for feeling this way, but I'm just curious why I'm feeling this way. It could be because of A, B, C, D, and then I feel this way. So for me, I try to talk to myself with a lot of kindness.
Yeah.
I feed my energy with kindness. And then one thing I love to do is zone of control. This isn't actually in one of my trainings. I
Ah,
love it so much, but literally whiteboard marker. Okay, so nothing's permanent. If you don't want it to stay, you rub it off, just like with children. Okay, and so inside is what you can control. We really go into that, and it's not an activity where I judge you. No, you can keep it completely private. You don't need to share. But the whole point is you have to have. I'm a visual learner, and so everything's visual diagrams. What you can control, what you can't control. Really focus on your energy because we really only have a few, we don't have like a full recharge battery, right? If you really think about it, our
yeah.
energy is depleted, mentally, emotionally depleted because we're
Yeah.
constantly bringing work home because we care. Because
And
we,
yeah. I was just going to say, where would you put energy? Would you put that in? Because I think it's an interesting one where you can control it because you choose what to spend your energy on, or you can't control it because sometimes things happen to you and they suck the energy out of you.
so I like to reserve just a block of unknown energy. So
Yeah.
I need to fill my own cup first, and I know what that means. That means I need to do check-ins with myself. I have to write down how I feel at this exact moment, and if there's something from the previous day that has bothered me, because that adds to the next day's stress.
Yeah.
So I need to sort that out. I need to let it go. I need to just accept it. It happened, not judge it, take a deep breath out, and just move it to the next. And that really does help me reprogram my brain a little bit. And when I actually go into work or wherever I go, I have that free space of just friendly curiosity. I wonder what's going to happen next. And I almost embrace it as in, ooh, what's happening without the schedule.
Yes, yeah. And you know what? It's so funny when you mentioned the zone of control. On my desk here, I
Mhm.
have, I'll just show this to you and everyone who's watching and listening.
Yes.
Circle of control.
Yes.
And this is something that my therapist gave to me on this little card. So it says things I cannot control: the
Yeah.
past, how others react, the future as well to an extent. I kind of disagree with that a little bit. You can control the future in terms
Yeah.
of, it's your decisions, but I can't control the weather, life and death, these kinds of things. And then in the middle, things I can control, like my own actions, my words, my goals, how I react to things, my core beliefs and values, how I treat people, asking for help. So I never thought about doing my own. I've just got this that I've looked at, and I like I said straight away, I'm not 100% sold on like I cannot control my future, but I understand that there are things that to an extent you can't. So I never thought about creating my own and using a whiteboard, like you said. I'm totally going to do this now, 100%.
I do it with my children. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
my own children, I have two, 4-year-old and an 8-year-old. Sorry, they just had their birthdays. 5-year-old and 9 years old. And one thing I love to do in all my camps, because I'm also a co-founder of our Mindful Connection Club in Chelsea, and we always talk about what we can. We do an emotional check-in with ourselves, similar to what we do as adults, right? But more
Yeah.
pictures, more clay, more tactile, concrete materials that they can manipulate as they wish. And then after they're ready, that's called setting the tone. We have like a good chunk of time where we just set the tone for the morning, for the day. And then when they're ready, I always say, when you're ready, please join me. And they really do. I give them time, and it's almost like they've given themselves permission to finish what they're doing. And then the next step they would do is zone of control. Actually, we'd get the whiteboards and we color code everything. And I have magnetic animals or emotions that I've created. And then they just put it, oh, yeah, I can control this. Oh, yeah, I can't control this. And then later, they're having a dialogue with their partners. And then it's almost like you've given them tools. You've given them strategies so they can have a talking point.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I do with adults. No different. Everybody needs permission to just be. I know it's part of the article, and maybe we're going to go in depth later. But if you really think about it, what's stopping you from doing what you want to do? You really think about it. You could say it's your boss, it's the school leader, it's the parent. You say a lot of things, but actually it's always yours.
Yeah.
You can choose to talk about it, or you can choose. Everybody has a choice in everything, right? And so we give the children that choice. And when you do, you speak to their senses and their permission to just be. You've created a safe space for them to just be. And that is the beauty. Once you see that happening and the children are driving their learning, they're more in charge, they have strategies to deal with the unknown, then you've created really a positive classroom culture, which extends to the school culture and beyond. Because then they'll use it in a situation. So that's what I'm really passionate about.
And that's what you talk about in your article, like you just mentioned, when you discuss and just kind of finding the right part. So supporting your students, a holistic approach to wellbeing and learning. And you really talk about the fact that we can't support our students if we don't check in with ourselves. And this is the whole point, isn't it? It's starting with us, as your article says, and then you're able to support others better as well. You're able to be a better leader, a better parent, a better friend, a better colleague.
Exactly. When you normalize emotions and you normalize it's okay to have a bad day, and then you set the intention not to strive. We're always striving. It's tiring to strive sometimes and thrive. Sometimes just simply be in the moment. It's okay. Give yourself permission to be comfortable with that, because normally we set expectations on ourselves. And as leaders, we know the to-do list is very long. But if we just focus on that, we've actually neglected the other part that keeps us going. You want it to be a sustainable leadership, but how can you be sustainable if you don't care for yourself, right? So reflective practices, journaling, checking in with yourself, and also checking in with your teachers, 2-minute check-ins, instead of just saying, so this morning we have to do A, B, C, D, or this problem. No, start with a friendly morning. Say, hey, I know we have a very, very busy day ahead. How are you doing, by the way? Are you okay? Is there anything you need from me? And that's something that you can that's a 2-second thing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take
Yeah.
30 minutes. It took 2 seconds
Mm-hmm.
just to say, even the facial expression, just,
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of hand gestures because sometimes my mouth is tired from talking. So, from far away, and they're like, and then they smile. You start to
Yeah.
see that their body changes, that they feel like, hey, she's got my back. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. And so, if you have these friendly moments where you can just connect with your teachers, they will feel happier and they'll feel like they want to nurture the children.
Mm.
They would do the same. So, it's modeling that.
Yeah. And I was just going to say as well, with how, and you mentioned how busy and, there's so much going on in schools, in settings, and there's that pressure, lots of constant pressures. So ways of encouraging, fostering, I guess is the right word, reflective practice. We don't want it to become another task, like you say. So maybe these like check-ins, these small like 2-minute check-ins, is a way to have these shared reflective moments rather than, oh, we want you to write a journal, and then they'll think, oh, this is another thing I need to do. Actually, how do we? You've already mentioned some of these great ways, like checking in. How do we almost, like, I want to, like, say in quotations, sell it to our teams that they need to look after themselves, if you know what I mean?
To be honest with you, that is a beautiful question. And that is what I always get when I work with schools.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, let's just all be humble and let's just all be on the same level. And so actually, the teacher training, we're all on the floor on yoga mats. Everyone. So I really do play with space, and we're not at the table.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not standing up
With that
intentionally.
authority figure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Power needs to be more distributed. I
Mm-hmm.
believe heavily when I ran the Scandinavian School of London 10 years ago. One of the ways I adapted the approaches from the hierarchy, from top down model,
Mm-hmm.
we flattened it a little bit as much as we could. And
Mm-hmm.
we understood through my check-ins with each of the teachers, I realized that even though they're the math coordinator or PE coordinator or drama music,
Mm-hmm.
they were passionate about something else. So I
Mm,
use
yeah.
that and I say, hey, you have that passion. Would you like to be in charge of that? And so over
Mm-hmm.
time, they're like, yeah, I love football. I'm going to be math teacher in charge of football. I'm going to do that. I'm like, let's do that. The drama teacher is in charge of music because she can play. She's in a band and she plays all the instruments and she sings vocally. So it's
Mm-hmm.
one person who specializes in something in a school. It's if you're passionate about it, that passion speaks to volumes just
Yeah.
by being yourself. So I would say the selling point really is to understand it, to digest
Mm-hmm.
what you need to do, and to connect with each teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do that, really, the rest will flow. Because if we can do role playing right now, I'll give you an example. So I got
Mm-hmm.
one who's more of like a toxic leader, okay?
Mm.
Not labeling people, but I'm just the distinction between two. We got toxic and a positive, okay? Because that's a school
Mm-hmm.
culture. You can either be toxic school culture or positive, simple.
Mm.
Toxic is, oh, why did you do this? I told you not to do this. Oh, I'm just looking at my
Mm.
face is frowny right now.
Yeah.
I was smiling, but you understand the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is, good morning, everyone. How was your weekend? Oh, I had a really long weekend. I'm a little bit tired, so please pardon me if I'm not a little bit switched on today. How's everyone doing? Yeah. Well, from time to time, let's check in with one another just to make sure we're all okay. And if you have time, 5 minutes before you leave, let's all have a quiet session of just sharing, checking in, just to make sure we're all okay for the next day. You get two different types. You have
Yes.
to make time for people because we all want to feel like we belong. But how do you
Mm-hmm.
belong? It's not just the word. You can't just say, in our school, we feel like we belong. No, it's climate.
Yeah.
It's climate. You have to create that climate of feeling. It's all how a person feels in your presence,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when you check in with yourself, you realize, okay, I'm a little bit frowny today, but that doesn't mean I'm angry at you, right?
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, I'm frowny today, so mental note, be more smiley. Be more smiley, because you do want to make sure that what you say or how you come across, the other person receives it, because a lot of misunderstanding happens. A lot of miscommunication happens when they see the face and the words don't match. They feel
Yes.
energy, then they leave feeling, oh, that was a strange feeling. They're like, oh, that was an interesting meeting. And then slowly by slowly, with the toxic culture, they start to shut down. Teachers withdraw, and they don't feel like sharing. And that's where you don't want to get to that point. And even though you do get to the point, there's something called repair. You can always repair, restorative practices. You can start by having more group activities outside of school so that you can get to know the teachers in a different capacity. Sports is a huge thing. Team building exercises, retreats, mindfulness, even having a mindfulness teacher or a yoga teacher come into your school space as a teacher gift. Doesn't matter. You can come. You can create that positive. You can come back from it. So what I'm trying to say is that notice how you are in different situations, especially when you're stressed, because that's when our brain and our heart doesn't connect, and then you have strategies to move forward.
I'm really hearing that this is really linking to the way that we are with children as well, in terms of leaders kind of thinking, oh, why do they not get it? I'm helping them, supporting them with all these well-being strategies, and they're just not picking it up. They just don't want to. They're just so negative or bogged down or whatever it is. I'm doing everything I can as a leader to support them and support myself. But actually, maybe it's something that we're not doing as a leader. Maybe it's about checking in with ourselves and looking at what, not what's wrong with the way we see children. We wouldn't say what's wrong with the children. Sometimes we are kind of like this, and we need to shift that perspective of why is the child not achieving or developing in this way? Actually, what are we doing that's not supporting their development and their needs? So maybe as a leader, am I not opening up myself and modeling that, like you were saying, and therefore they're not also opening up?
I agree with you. So so the biggest theme here, I would say, is judgment. Don't be judgmental. I know it sounds weird. Don't be, but and these words, when you put it into action in very different stressful situations, it's really hard. But if I invite you to think about, oh, how do I react in stressful situations? Does my eyebrow, is it a bit frowny? Am I tense? Because body language really is how we communicate. Words, we don't need words if you really think about it. You can gesture and you can smile. You can mimic that. You really can. Try it out. Play a game with colleagues, have a little bit of fun, and just see their response. And once you start to notice that they notice, hey, something's shifting over there, they will feel like, hey, I'm all about that shift. Sometimes, however, people don't like change and they don't like that shift, in which case they're not ready, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Try to understand where everybody's coming from, because really cultures, backgrounds, like wherever the teachers have come from, their social, cultural background, context is everything. You have to understand, for example, I grew up in Hong Kong, and you just don't speak up to authority. If you just don't talk to your bosses in a certain way, right? So you have to understand, it's not necessarily them being rude, but it's heavily embedded within their culture. So when you actually think about it, you have to eliminate barriers for disconnection. You have to really eliminate all these different barriers. So you have to be more introspective and do a lot of reflective practices. And one thing I love to do is observation. You just observe, because there is a way to observe, just to write down exactly what's happening.
Like a narrative observation, like you do with children. Yeah.
100%. In any setting I go to, I observe. I scan and I observe. And I just observe how the energy is, the flow.
But without judgment, like you said before, right?
Narrative observations, we have to do it, okay? But with our own personal observations, we don't have to put like a check mark next to it. It's just a point for you to remember. So the judgment, you don't need to put judgment to it. You can just say, I wonder why. Or I notice this teacher is not smiling or making eye contact, or whenever I call the teacher for a meeting, she kind of withdraws and her body language is more distant than forward.
Mm-hmm.
You can just start to understand.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be this, it could be so many factors, right? Maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
scared to voice their opinions for fear that you might not favor them anymore or
Mm-hmm.
like them. So many things, hidden messages within nonverbal communication, but you can break that down by listening, connecting, the 2-second check-in. How are you? Some teachers don't like to be hugged. They don't like
Mm-hmm.
it. Similar with children. Observe that.
Yeah, and get to know them. And I guess when you've been talking about all of this, what comes to my mind is it's all about relationships. It's all about understanding, getting to know that person, building that connection, that professional curiosity, and seeking to understand before judging. And I keep looking over there because I'm sure I've got a book on my bookshelf that talks about, I've written, maybe it's this one.
I
I'll
love
grab it and see. It's
it.
talking
Go to
about.
your other side. What you're looking
I've
at.
Body language. Here we go. This is this one. So actually, it completely I mean, it's not really leadership. It's about negotiation. Never split the difference.
Okay.
Um, but it talks about. I wrote it in the back of the book actually about body language. What you say, and every time you mention it, I'm like thinking about it, and it says non-verbal communication is. Wait, I can't read my own writing. Oh, right. 7, 38, and 55% rule. So
Yes.
7% of messages are based on words. Only
Yes.
7.
Yes.
38% on tone of voice. And 55, a whole 55 body language and facial expression. That's crazy, isn't it? It's exactly what you've been saying. And I keep thinking, like, yeah, she's so
I
right.
remember
Like,
the concept, but I forget the actual numbers.
yeah,
But
I do as well.
now I see 738,
7, 38, 55. We need to remember that.
55.
Yeah.
So I
7,
can see
38,
that
55.
jump, isn't it? From 7 to 55, if you think about
Yeah.
it. That's huge, right? So if we
Crazy.
understand this is how to be an effective communicator and to really, this is the key to breaking down barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Just really taking away all the misunderstandings. Naturally, it will happen.
Yeah.
Focus on yourself. Focus on
Mm.
how you are in difficult situations
Mm.
and be okay with that. Pardon yourself. It's
Yeah.
fine because when you give yourself more pressure and you pile onto your shoulders even more,
Mm.
you feel claustrophobic. You can't breathe.
Yeah.
You feel suffocated. And so it's key to be kind to yourself. Know
Mm-hmm.
how you feel in different situations and don't judge it.
I think we have that pressure as leaders to to have it all figured out and to be in quotations strong and tough. And I think that's why a lot of the time you may see a leader not show their true selves, their feelings, and just kind of be a little bit, I guess if they're in a bad mood or something, they might be a little bit more like stern and cold and serious. And that's when, like you mentioned earlier, there's those misunderstandings and people think, oh, what's wrong? Have I done something? And no, that leader is just masking, right? And just trying to be like, not showing that something's wrong because they don't want to appear like something's wrong with them or like they don't have it all put together.
Do you know what? I love that you said that because at the end of the day, as a leader, yes, we have to be strategic
Mm.
in how we do. We have a role, a professional role to play, and I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But also, we are working and developing little human beings. We are contributing to the world of, of life skills, building life skills, right?
Mm.
And so, if we are very clear our own values and ethos, it has to align with what you're doing. Because if there's a constant clash, then you can't survive. It's like a short-term thing. So being a sustainable leader is really understanding you're in the role of developing people.
Yes. Yeah. It's all about people, isn't it?
Because without a community, you're by yourself. To be a
Mm.
leader is so lonely because sometimes you think everything is on your shoulder. And so you feel alone. You can't consult with other people. You can't, share your feelings in the staff room because you fear that they won't see you as a leader, a person who knows it all. But to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, I tried the other way. I said, hey, listen, I don't know it all, but I am always willing to learn. and I'm always willing to listen, and I'm always willing to work alongside you, parents, and children. I kept it very, very simple because once you're very clear on your intention behind leading the school, people will connect with that. And already a lot of barriers are just gone. Then all of a sudden they feel more comfortable speaking to you. And even the difficult conversations, you can handle it. There is always a way to handle stress. There is a way to handle, people who are disrespectful. There's always a way. And that's the strategies and tools that you put in place. But the point of the article and my mission to spread awareness is, hey, let's not forget the leader. We're lonely too, and we need support, because when you are in the position you're in charge of other people, you sometimes neglect it. All I'm saying is don't neglect yourself too. Check in with yourself. Just 2 extra minutes. If you feel rush, move everything forward by 7 minutes. You'll start to see there's a little bit more flexibility within your very rigid schedule. I know there's a lot of checklists you have to do, but think about creating maybe, like I use a traffic light system where it's things that I need to get done right away. Red, right?
Like urgent.
Urgent, red.
Yeah.
Things that can wait maybe a week or 2, yellow, right? And then green. Oh, I'm okay. I'm really okay with that. At the end of the term, 3 months, I can get that. Once you have that visual, as I said, I'm a visual learner. What has helped me is a really big whiteboard in front of me. And then writing down all these reminders, that also helps me get organized. I know sometimes I don't deal well under pressure. So I notice that about myself, and I don't judge it because that's just how I was brought up. But I can also find tools. And so I recently just graduated from MISS, Mindfulness in Schools project, as a practitioner. I actually, funnily enough, re-enrolled myself for another 10-week course.
Straight away.
No, because 10 weeks and 10 weeks, that's 20 weeks. I knew I needed to sort myself out before I became a very good educator and parent. That is how I check in with myself. I know I don't deal with stress really well. I'm a very fast worker, very rapid time, and I feel like I have to do a million things at once. And I talk really fast. And so for the mindfulness, hey, that has helped me really slow down and focus on weekly goals, which then I share with my staff. Hey, this week I learned this in my mindfulness class. Let's do a little 2-minute session together. I say 2 minutes because when you say 2 minutes, it's not a lot of time. So people don't feel like, oh, another thing I have to do.
Yeah, another task, yeah.
I don't want them to feel like it's a burden, right? So it's all about like understanding who you work with, how they respond to stress as well. And then you just guide them along the way. There's always a way to deal with something. You can choose to be toxic or positive. If it's toxic, it's all things like yelling, rushing people, making them feel less than, and really like the light inside of them doesn't sparkle as brightly. I always teach children, everybody has an inner light. Sometimes, just like it's sunny outside, sometimes it's bright and really, really overwhelmingly warm. Sometimes hides behind a cloud. But does it mean it's not there? No, it's still there. So I always use this metaphor with educators, with senior leaders, and with children and parents as well, because then they realize, hey, it's okay. It's like the weather, constantly changing.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that once we understand how our brain is actually wired for negativity, it really actually wired for that, because we are a product of, I heard someone say, we are a product of warriors. That is how we are. That's how we exist. So it's already inside our brain. It's already within us, our DNA. But we can choose to understand that and to cultivate a different perspective. It's all about shifting, as you said before. It's shifting from how we were and how we will be. We're not there yet, but we will be if you just put the word yet. So it's really, I love working alongside everyone's development, and everyone takes time. Don't rush them. But still keep on talking, still keep on doing your inner work and change, because one teacher will notice. And to me, that is the biggest gift. If
Mm-hmm.
one person notices, if you change one person's life, if you change a child's life, that is your job.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so beautiful. And then over time, then it becomes your culture. It becomes the very fabric that makes your school so special, or the nursery
Mm-hmm.
thing. And then people will start to feel that energy. So coming back to your question about selling it,
Mm.
there's no fast way to sell it because we are
Yeah.
developing human beings. And over time, you have to build relational trust. In order to do that, the first step is you have to sort yourself out. You have to check in with yourself. And then alongside that, empower your teachers and children so that they can check in with themselves. And so I have little laminated cards in every child's desk,
Mm-hmm.
and it's color coded. So we do primary emotions and then secondary emotions. And then as they move on to key stage 2 and forward, there's more gradation of the colors. And
Right.
as
Yes, I've seen that too. Yeah.
varies, so it becomes more nuanced. And so when you actually equip children, similar if you've actually equipped parents and teachers, then
Mm-hmm.
they'll have the vocabulary to match with how they feel. And that is the point.
Yeah.
If you've noticed, sometimes when we don't know how we feel, and we just feel it and it becomes overwhelming. And then our natural brain tends to worry because that's what
Mm-hmm.
it's designed to do. That can take into control. So, but if you're proactive with strategies and tools, then you understand how to find a solution to problems as opposed to just be the problem and just
Yes.
extend that problem.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned a lot of the things that we talked about is working with adults and leaders, and you mentioned also your work with children. So we're kind of like running out of time now. We've addressed so much, I feel like, but also there's so much left that we haven't talked about. But there's your fantastic article as well. But yeah, before we wrap up, tell us a little bit about your work in during the summer. So you do camps with children?
So, yes, exactly. So if I can, so I've been a teacher for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
started off in Hong Kong, very traditional system.
Mm-hmm.
As a child, I didn't fit in because I wasn't one of
Mm.
those learners that just got good grades and just listened. So all of
Yeah.
a sudden, I was labeled the other child who just has to stand up, use your hands a little bit too much, walk
Mm.
quickly, cushion. And I noticed that, wait, something's not right, but it's not.
Mm.
I knew it wasn't me. I knew it was something else because I was like, how can I change? This is how I am. This is what I was born to.
Mm.
So why am I accepting other people's way of telling me I'm not good enough? I knew I just needed to find out what I was good at. And so I did my search, my quest, and then I went to Toronto for school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I graduated from psychology and as a Montessori teacher.
Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
graduated. I also volunteered in so many nurseries and schools that weren't necessarily Montessori, but they integrated. It was almost like a blended curriculum where they
Mm-hmm.
positive psychology, a lot of tenets of child-centric learning, pedagogy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to New York, and then I did the same thing, but I just blended the Montessori tenets into the New York State system, the flow over there in Upper East Side. I did that for a couple of years, and I realized I actually love being challenged. Like, give me a challenge and let's work together because I know that there's always a way to investigate a little further. And so just
Mm-hmm.
having conversations with people, understanding where you've come from, how you grew up was very different from their own background and context. And so that kind of broadened my own perspective and said, there's not one right way. It's just we're all here in the same boat because we care and we want to nurture little human beings. And we want to support parents as well. So that's all I took from it. I didn't see that as a threat, like, oh, that person knows a different method or that person knows a different way. No, we're all in it together. We really care. And then I had a chance, and then I moved to London 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in a Montessori school in North London. And then I had a wonderful opportunity to open up a school. Oh, this was my dream. But of course, UK, where it's quite rigid. And so I had to work with Ofsted.
Yes.
Right? And this more than 10 years ago, actually. This is 15 years ago, 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so we operated we called ourselves, how did we call ourselves? We called it Danish education because we borrowed policy from Denmark and we did at the Danish embassy. We went to
Mm-hmm.
Denmark and we just understood, how do you make children happy? How do you make a community of happy people? That was what drove us to investigating how we could bring that to London. And we did that. But then as a leader, of course, I felt burnt out.
Yes.
I was really burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just a buzzword, burnt out. No, it was lack of
Mm-hmm.
sleep, lack of water, lack of the basic functioning, right? And I realized I couldn't do my job as effectively.
Mm-hmm.
That I was just focusing on all the things I couldn't do as opposed to the things that I could do yet. So I didn't train myself yet. I was just in it. And the rush of everything just made everything a little bit more blurry, to be honest. And so while I had
Mm-hmm.
every intention to try distributed leadership, which I did at the end, and try to build and develop the teachers, I did at the end, and the children were happy. Everyone cried when I left. And of course, I cried too. So I felt like that was a sense of belonging and a trust over time. But
Mm-hmm.
I knew I needed to take care of myself, right?
Of course,
So
yeah.
so 10 years ago is when I stepped out of the schools, the classrooms. And then I wanted to be a mom. And so I did. But motherhood is great. But I realized, wait, I'm really new at this and I really miss working in schools. How can I bridge both?
Yeah.
Enrolled myself at UCL
Mm-hmm.
Institute of Education, and I took a master's in education leadership. And I remember the very first night class, it was all night class because it was part-time night
Mm-hmm.
class, the teacher said, "Oh, who is education for?" And we just sat with that question, who is education for? Because if you actually thought about it, the policies don't put children first, right? So
Mm.
we as educators always try to put children first, but the contrast is always, oh, but we have to get this done, we have to do this,
Yeah.
we have to record, observe, this and that, ABCD, the list is long. But that takes time away from really connecting
Mm.
with children. So in our light, I cannot control and I can control. I did one of those things and I realized, okay, I cannot control the system. I
Mm-hmm.
control the way the school, the culture of the school. I
Mm-hmm.
that, but I can control how I respond in those instances. And so
Yes.
that is when I started my journey, the reflective journey, through my
Mm-hmm.
MA class with amazing colleagues and professors. And I just asked questions and I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
belonged finally. It was one of those beautiful moments. And then after that, my thesis was how to support teachers' well-being and children's well-being, and with the themes of sense of belonging, relational trust, and
Mm-hmm.
school culture. My professor said this is something you can move forward with.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I understand what she meant. She's a beautiful, wonderful professor that I really looked up to. She was my mentor. And when she said that, I was like, what is she saying? It's like what's this code? And so I had to do a little bit of investigation, which I did. And then JL Education Consultancy came up, where I'm so passionate in it. I became trained in all of the ways to connect with teachers and children.
Mm-hmm.
And I just created a system where I actually support you exactly how we spoke about. I do insight.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, hey, I'm helping teachers and senior leaders and parents, but I miss working with children.
Yeah.
With my children, we create, and my co-partner, Padine, who's an art therapist and a fellow mom
Mm-hmm.
in school, we got talking. We created a mindful camp. It's called Our
Oh.
Mindful Connection Club because we integrate mindful moments to boost social and emotional learning. And how we
Mm-hmm.
do it is through therapeutic art, through journaling, through checking in, and we help children develop lifelong skills. So I'll give you an example. We just finished our third camp and we're running our next camp, no, our fourth camp actually in Chelsea, and we're gearing up for the fifth one in July.
Mm-hmm.
And one 10-year-old boy, he needed support on the jump rope, skip rope,
Mm-hmm.
okay? One arm was a bit slouched, the left arm was higher up, and he was trying
Mm-hmm.
he was trying. So I just told my colleague, I was like, I'll stay with him and you can continue with the rest of the children. I just stayed an extra 10 minutes with him. And then I'm like, would you like my support so that you can, you had a goal to jump rope. Can I help you with that? And he's like, sure, why not? Right? And so I just said, just do that. And then do it. And he did it. He was so happy. And then he did it
such a
over.
simple thing.
But I give him time.
Yeah, it's not that you corrected his posture, it's more the time that you gave him.
I asked him permission if he would like my help, because normally we talk at people.
Yes. Yeah. Do this, do that, change your shoulders.
Don't do this. Don't go to drink water. Come on, line up. Right? It's all in how we are. It's that rush, right? We didn't rush. The whole point of this camp is, hey, let's just be. Let's just create a space to just be. Really? I do. It's a whole house. Children come and it takes an hour for them to settle in. But I love designing the classroom so that children sit on the floor. Those children who don't want to be with the rest of the children, they're not ready yet. So I have a quiet corner. We design it to the child's eye level. Everything is aesthetically beautiful and it's not overwhelming. And we have quiet music when they enter. And then every child has a yoga mat and their own affirmations that they can write based on my modeling. And then we create stories. For example, we always have SEL themes. So the first one is self-awareness. The second theme was responsibility. How can we be responsible citizens? Right? And then we really go into a story, and the older children understand. They create artwork based on that. So it's really a beautiful space where children just be. My own children come in and they're like, can we plan and design the camp today, Mom? And I'm like,
wow.
Mom, I'm teacher. I have to make sure they understand. And so now they're like, Mom, mindfulness teacher Joanne, and low mindful, but it's very sweet because the whole point is I was a different person when I was a mother, and I did want to bring back how I started as an educator. By opening this camp, I'm able to do both. My children are able to see that you can start something later on in life.
Yes, I love that.
Finish school later. You don't have to follow this specific timeline. And if you cultivate kindness within yourself and you explore every unknown with like a friendly curiosity, I wonder, or I know my body is this way, or I'm noticing I'm a bit slouchy today or tired, then all of a sudden you realize that you're not judging yourself. That pressure doesn't exist, then all of a sudden it's off your shoulders. And when you do that, it's the most beautiful thing. It's like one of those, in Montessori, they say, oh, you have to work towards the aha moment, where a child is for themselves. I can do it myself. So I use that concept in everything I do. And I slowly build strategies and tools. I do a lot of professional development myself because I believe in lifelong learning. And I always feel like the more you equip yourself with tools, the better you are able to support others, because that is your role, right? That's your chosen role in your professional life. And even as a mother, your personal life, you're nurturing your own children, your family. So that's why I decided to start. It starts with us, with this circle, because throughout the years, I realized it really does begin with your own transformation, right? And if you really want change, change will happen. And then all of a sudden, you'll start to see opportunities are available in that way. And then you start to build a community of like-minded people like yourself. And you just have conversations, and which can go past the hour, but it's just nonstop conversations.
Yeah.
Beauty of it.
Yeah, and then so much more can come out of these conversations. And yeah, I think it's what you've just discussed sums up this whole conversation of it's all about relationships and connection, isn't it? And I think it's a perfect place to kind of wrap everything up. And it's it's just been great speaking with you. And I as I said, like from the very beginning, when you first kind of started talking about the first, point that I posed to you, I
Yeah.
was already like, I've got so many reflections straight away. So yeah, thank you so much, Joanne, for sharing your experience and knowledge. And thank you to everyone listening or watching and for joining us for this reflective and important conversation.
Well,
What we've,
can I
yeah, and
just want to thank you for creating
oh,
a
thanks.
platform where we can have informal conversations, even though it's recorded,
Mm,
because I feel like you're bold enough to tackle on unknowns as well. And it's
yeah.
through conversations and constant need for improvement, to support others. You
Mhm.
have to nurture yourself as well.
Yeah, definitely. I need to, like I was just telling you before we recorded, I've been up and I'm not a morning person at all, like at 5 a.m. every week, every day this week. And that's just been tough for me. So like, I still go to bed late because I'm an evening kind of night person. So I need to nurture myself for sure and need to kind of check in with myself more. And there's so many things that I picked up from this podcast episode for myself, as well as, when I'm speaking to other leaders. And it's all very it's all very personal, isn't it? Not just professional. But yeah, and thank you for thanking me. I always say that. And well, for everyone who's listening and watching, you can find Joanne's fantastic article. The link is in this episode description. And there in the article as well, at the top, you can also find a button to inquire about working with Joanne. So, yeah, we'll make sure that whenever we get an inquiry, we reply and try and have that conversation with the actual consultant or speaker and the people that are inquiring to understand what they would like, how they'd like to work together. So yeah, please do inquire if you'd like to work with Joanne. And if today's episode really resonated with you, we encourage you to take a moment to pause and reflect, just like we've been talking about today, really. So, thinking, what does it mean for you to look inward as an educator, and perhaps what small shift might you make in your daily routine to support your own well-being, just like what we said. Now I've already kind of reflected on the things that I'm going to do. Yeah, so as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Everyone who's listening, do connect with us through our website or social media channels and continue the conversation. And once again, just a huge thank you, Joanne. It's been great, and I'm so glad that you got in touch and connected.
Thank you so much, Angelica.